Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, and in today's video we are going to be doing another unboxing. So we do have this giant box filled with 10 models. Yes, there are 10 models inside this box. 6 of them are United models as well. I believe we have 3 Gemini Jets models and the rest are all NG. So I'm going to take the box off to the side now and then we're going to get them out one by one. So I think we're going to start with all of the United models first off. So we do have 3 of the NG models United 737-900s. We have 1, we have 2, and we have 3 here. I do currently have 7 of the new livery United 737-800s, so it's pretty nice to see the 900s now coming into the collection. I did also order the 737-700s, but unfortunately those never arrived. But oh well, we're going to do the best with what we've got. So we do have 3 of these United 737-900s. Then next up we have 2 of the Gemini Jets United 737 MAX 8s. Before this, of course, I had the old livery United 737 MAX 9, so this is the first of the new livery Maxes. We should also be getting a release of the MAX 9s fairly soon, and of course United also have orders for the 737 MAX 10 as well, so whenever they get that and Gemini Jets get the mold for the MAX 10, we should also get those as well. But for now we have these 2 United 737 MAX 8s. Then sticking with United but moving away from the 737s, we have a model I have been looking forward to for a very long time now. We have the NG models United 757-200. I did order 2 of these, but only 1 has arrived at this moment. We may get a second one in the future, or we may not. I don't know whether this is just a problem with the demand of this model or whatever, but we at least have 1 of them, which I can appreciate at least. Then next up, moving along, we have another Gemini Jets model. We have the Delta Connection CRJ200. While I do already have a Delta CRJ200 in my collection, that one is slightly damaged. The landing gear on the underside is kind of broken, so this model is going to be replacing that model into my collection, so I'm not really gaining a model here. This is just going to be a one-to-one replacement. Then next up we have an aircraft I don't think many of you would expect me to get, but I got it anyway. We have the NG models American OneWorld 757-200 in, of course, the chrome livery. I do in fact have the Gemini Jets version of this aircraft, however that is a very old model at this point, so I decided to get this one to just go alongside that one. I don't think I'm gonna use this as a replacement for the Gemini Jets version, but it'll be just nice to see kind of an updated mold next to the older Gemini Jets version of this aircraft. Then next up, a model that is going to be very, very useful for a lot of my Baltimore updates. We have the NG models Southwest 737-700 in the Maryland 1 color scheme. Of course, this isn't just another special livery from Southwest. This one in particular is the livery that represents the Baltimore hub for Southwest. So this in particular is going to be an amazing addition to the collection, and of course my Baltimore updates. And then finally, after that, we have the only wide body of this unboxing. This is a very beautiful aircraft in my opinion. We have the NG models Air Lingus A330-300 in their old livery. So of course you have the current Air Lingus livery, which features the primarily white fuselage with the green engines, the green winglets and the green tail. You then have their older livery, which features of course the primarily dark green fuselage. And then going back into the 1990s, you have this livery, which I think looks really, really cool. So moving this one off to the side, we're now going to be unboxing the models in the same order as we got them out of the box. So starting off today's unboxing, of course we have the 3 NG models United 737-900s in the new livery. These are going to be very useful for not only my Washington Dulles updates, but of course other updates like Baltimore and Reagan as well. Of course, primarily though, my Washington Dulles updates are going to feature pretty much all of these aircraft, as the 737-900 is a very common aircraft at Washington Dulles. First off, I'm going to get them all out of the box just to check that they're not all broken, but there we have the first one. I'm going to move these ones off to the side. So there we have the first United 737-900. We have the second United 737-900. And finally, the third United 737-900. As well as that, of course, because these are new newer NG models, they do come with these discount cards that of course NG are sending with a lot of their newer models now. And so yeah, I'm going to put 2 of these off to the side, and then we're going to go through one in detail. It's also worth noting that these are the 737-900 ERs. United do have some of the regular 737-900s in their fleet, however they have many more extended range versions of the 737-900 than the non-ER versions. They currently have 136 of these 737-900 ERs in their fleet. But getting started off at the front of the aircraft here, as you can see, we have the 737 nose piece here with the cockpit windows there. We have the Star Alliance logo there with the L1 door there. We have the forward landing gear, the grey underbelly with the blue line kind of following that down to the end of the aircraft. We have the United titles, the huge United titles now anyway, compared to the old livery that is. And then moving to the middle of the aircraft here, as you can see, we have the blue engine. We have the blue split scimitars, we have the Wi-Fi box, and then finally moving to the rear of the aircraft, as you can see, we have the grey underbelly that slopes up towards the APU at the back here. We have the rear door, we have the registration, which reads November 38417, I believe that says. We have the US flag there, and then of course we have the new United logo on the tail at the back. So yeah, overall an amazing set of models from NG. I'm pretty devastated that I didn't get my hands on the Alaska 737-900s. Of course, I got the Education Change the World livery 737-900s, but then I also ordered 2 of the regular livery Alaska 737-900s and 1 in the OneWorld livery as well, and I didn't get any of them. I guess there's still hope that I could get them at a later date, but I'm losing hope at this point with every day that passes. So yeah, it's pretty unfortunate, but at least I have these United 737-900s. And so next up, moving on to Gemini jets, we have the United 737 MAX 8s. United currently only operates 16 of these, but they have a further 74 on order, which will equate to their entire fleet consisting of 100 of these aircraft when they get their final order in. And these will essentially just operate very similarly to their current 737-800s. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead now and open these aircraft to check that they're not broken. Now they shouldn't be, because the Gemini Jet 737 MAX mold is actually a really nice mold. This is one of the molds that Gemini Jets I think just do really well. And it's also been a very long time since I've actually unboxed a 737 MAX aircraft, because while the MAXes had their groundings, for some reason Gemini Jets weren't releasing those aircraft. I don't know whether they kind of thought because the MAXes were grounded they were going to sell less of them or whatever, but they just weren't releasing them while the MAXes were grounded. And so as you can see, that's the first one out of the box. I believe there may be a slight issue with the engine there, but I'll address that in a second. And then moving on to the second MAX 8, we have the second one here, and as you can see, it's also in a pretty good condition. Now, as we have just had the 737-900s unboxed, I won't go through these in detail because, of course, these are essentially just the same models. But as you can see, yeah, that is very noticeable there. We do have a slight issue with the engines kind of pointing up. That is not very good. I'm probably going to have to look at this a little bit closer after the video, but that is a pretty big issue there from Gemini Jets. I'll give you a quick look through the aircraft here, as you can see, but I won't go through it in much detail just because basically all the features are the same when compared to the 737-900. But as you can see, apart from the engine issue, it looks like a really good model. I've always appreciated the Gemini Jets mold of the MAX. It's always been pretty good up until now. It's just a shame about this engine issue. But with that being said, we can now take both of these off to the side and we're going to move on to the 757-200s. And so here we go, here we have it. This is an aircraft I've been looking forward to for a very long time because of course the United 757-200 that I've been using is the 2013 version from Gemini Jets, so this is going to be a very nice replacement. And we have of course another card from NG, another discount card that is. It's essentially the whole thing of the more you buy, the more you save type deal. And then as you can see, as it's a 757, it's been a while since I've actually bought a 757 from NG, but we've got the bottom cradle underneath the polystyrene there. We have the top piece there, and then of course we have the polystyrene with the plastic protecting the model. And then inside here, if we wiggle it out, you'll see the model itself. And there we go, absolutely beautiful. I'm actually pretty surprised that NG don't have a mold for the 757-300 out. Of course, the reason why I'm saying this is because the 757-200 is the mold that kind of put NG on the map. If you remember back to early 2019, it must have been, I believe NG released the Icelandair 757-200, and that is the aircraft that really stood out for them. That's the aircraft that everybody kind of bought, and you know, there were also some others like the FedEx and DHL 757s, and they just kept on releasing loads and loads of 757s, and then in the summer of 2019 they released the 737, and that's when NG just absolutely skyrocketed. They released the new livery United 737-800, the American 737-800. I remember they released the British Airways 787-9. It was just an amazing month for NG, and that's when they absolutely skyrocketed, as I said. And so here we are with the United new livery 757-200. They have actually released the old livery United 757-200 before, but of course I was kind of waiting for them to release this aircraft, the new livery United 757-200. United currently operates 40 of these 757s, and they are currently operating them from Dulles to a lot of their kind of low demand transatlantic flights. So for example, the Dulles to Lisbon route is currently being served on this aircraft, as well as the Dulles to Dublin route. Before the pandemic, United also used to have the really early morning United 757 flight into London Heathrow. But sadly, that route I don't think has picked up after the pandemic yet, but it would be really cool to see that route start to pick up some traction again. But taking a look at this aircraft in detail now, starting with the nose of the aircraft, we have that absolutely famous and iconic 757 nose there. We have the cockpit windows there. We have the L1 and Star Alliance logos there. The United titles, I'm going to move this back so it's a little bit more in focus. Then we have, of course, the grey underbelly of the aircraft. Moving back to the wings, we have, I believe those are the RB211s. They do certainly look like them anyway, with the blue colour. We have the winglets with those enhanced winglets, as you can see by the top of the back one there. And then finally, moving to the rear of the aircraft, as you can see, we have the rear door. We have the registration, which reads November 48127 with the US flag, and then of course we have that United tail on the back there. Overall, an amazing aircraft. I do hope I get that second one, but if not, I'm just glad that I did at least get one of them. Next up, moving on to the Delta Connection CRJ200. Nothing really to note about the box, of course, so we're just going to go ahead and dive straight into this. So we're going to open the box here, of course the really tiny regional box, and opening up the cradles here with the plastic on the top, we have the Delta CRJ200 in the exact same mold as we had released last time. The mold of this aircraft is exactly the same as the one I already have, which I believe was released in 2013 or 2014. I'm not really upset about that. I think Gemini jets have learnt their lesson that they don't need to constantly improve their molds. They try to improve them to points where they come broken and they're not very good, and you know, a lot of the molds that they've had originally are just kind of fine. Of course, they don't have the rolling landing gear, they don't have the antennas, but to a lot of people, a lot of collectors like me, I don't mind that. I would rather have an older mold with no antennas, no rolling landing gear, and it actually come proportional and intact, than get a new one with antennas and with rolling landing gear that comes broken. I have flown on the Delta CRJ200. I flew this aircraft from Dallas to JFK, and it is not a very nice aircraft. I sat about here, I think, and it is just such a condensed, tiny aircraft, and it is not a very nice aircraft. Let's just leave it at that. But as you can see, we have the L1 door with the SkyTeam logo there. We have the Delta titles there, the connection titles under the windows there. We, of course, have the very few windows on the CRJ200. We have the emergency exits, we have the wing, we have the engines, we have the cargo door there, we have the registration, and we have that Delta T-tail. There's nothing really more to go through. It's a Delta CRJ200, and that's about it. It's a nice little model, and that's pretty much all there really is to say. Next, moving up in excitement, we have the American 757-200 in the OneWorld livery. This is a model I am really looking forward to. So going ahead now and opening the aircraft here, we have yet again another one of these discount codes, and there's the aircraft inside there gleaming in all of its glory. We have the cradle on the top, and then of course we have the plastic as well, and inside here, as you can see, we have the aircraft itself. And there we go. I'm trying my best not to touch any of the chrome portions on this aircraft because, of course, fingerprints and chrome is not a very good combination. This aircraft is actually the same age as me. It was delivered to American in the year of 2002. It was painted, of course, in their regular chrome livery until it was painted into this livery in 2009. When American got the new livery, they kept it in the OneWorld livery, but it was just upgraded into the new livery, so the new OneWorld livery, if that makes sense. In 2017, American put it into storage, before in 2018, DHL bought it, so they flew it from Victorville, where it was being stored, to East Midlands in England, and then of course it's operated from Europe for DHL ever since. So starting off at the nose of the aircraft here, as you can see, we have that non-chrome nose piece there. Of course, that's the piece that's often removed to get to the radar, which is inside the nose there. We have the cockpit windows there. We have the smaller OneWorld logo. We have the L1 door there. We have the giant OneWorld titles with the American Airlines titles underneath that. And then moving to the rear of the aircraft, as you can see, we have those classic AA titles on the tail there. I have this really vivid memory from, I believe, 2011 when I was flying to the US as a 9-year-old kid. I remember seeing this American Chrome 333 and I absolutely fell in love with that aircraft. And of course, with the NG 777 mold coming out soon, if they release a Chrome 333 or 222, I'm definitely going to have to get that one. I love the American Chrome livery. The other aircraft I really want as well, if it's ever released, is an American Chrome MD-11. Those aircraft look amazing. But overall, this is one amazing aircraft and it is going to look very good next to my other American Chrome aircraft. Next up, we have, of course, the Southwest Maryland 1 color scheme, 737-700. This is an aircraft I am really looking forward to having a part of my collection. Not only, of course, is this the livery that represents Baltimore and the hub Southwest have at Baltimore, but in my opinion, I think the Maryland flag is probably one of the best state flags there is. It's just such a unique flag. I don't think there's really any other flag that gets any better than the Maryland flag. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead now and open up the aircraft here. And here we have the Southwest 737-700. Now the Maryland flag is actually a mixture of two separate flags. So you have the Lord Baltimore banner, which is the orange and black one, and then you have the Crossland banner, which is the cross with red and white on it. The Lord Baltimore banner was used by pro-Union Marylanders during the Civil War, and the Crossland banner was used by pro-Confederate Marylanders during the Civil War as well. The first time these two flags were put together was in 1605. There's a guy called George Calvert who was involved with the putting together of these flags to form the Maryland coat of arms. When the US gained their independence, they actually stopped using this coat of arms until the Civil War started in the 1850s, and it was used as Maryland's flag. The actual coat of arms was used as Maryland's flag until 1904, when they refined it to just have the flag that we know and love today without the coat of arms bit. It's just the four flags, two of each flag kind of alternating in that pattern like that, and they've been using this version of the flag ever since 1904. I do think it's pretty funny to think about this guy George Calvert, who was alive in 1605, to see these flags being put together for the first time. If you stuck him in a time machine and made him travel 400 years in the future, he would see this giant flying machine with the flags that he put together on the side of it, and I think that's a really weird thing to think about. But overall, I do love the Maryland flag and the way it looks on this Southwest 737. It's definitely a very unique livery, and it's going to look very good along with all of my other state color schemes. And so finally, moving on to our last aircraft of the day, we have the NG Models Aer Lingus A330-300. It's a really cool box. As you can see, NG definitely don't spare any expense when looking at the box design, but taking the model out of the box now, we have the cradle inside here. Okay, it is broken. We do have the rear aileron on the back there, but apart from that, as you can see, it looks like we have a really nice model. Now at the moment, we're just going to ignore the fact that this aircraft doesn't have a rear aileron. We're just going to ignore that, and we're going to focus on the aircraft. Now sadly, this aircraft in real life is now scrapped. This aircraft no longer exists. This is actually one of the very first A330s that was ever built. This is the 54th A330-300. Now of course 54 is a pretty high number, but when you take into account that 1,500 A330-300s have now been built, this is one of the first A330-300s to roll off the production line. Aer Lingus currently operate 10 A330-300s, but sadly this is not one of those 10, as I said, this is now scrapped. It was delivered to Aer Lingus in 1994, where it featured this amazing color scheme. It then went to Ansett Worldwide in 2002, it then transferred to Air Algiers in 2004, Air Madrid in 2005, Ansett again in 2007, then in 2007, the same year, it was then delivered to Air Asia X. It was then with Air Asia X for quite a long time before being stored and scrapped in 2016. So it's pretty sad that this aircraft in real life is no longer with us. But still, it's a really cool aircraft and a really cool part of history. As you can see, starting off at the front of the aircraft, a very common theme with a lot of classic liveries are these bands of various colors. So down at the bottom we have this gray band, we then have the white band, the very dark navy blue band, we then have a lighter blue band, and then at the top there we have this green band. We then of course have the cockpit windows there, we have the L1 and L2 doors there, we have the Aer Lingus titles with the clover, we have the forward landing gear there. Then moving back on the aircraft, as you can see, we have those engines with the very pointy end bits there. We have the main landing gear there, and then of course, as you can see on the main fuselage, it's just the continuation of those bands of colors. Then moving back to the winglets there, as you can see, we have the green winglets with of course the clovers on the winglets there. And then finally moving to the rear of the aircraft, as you can see, we have the registration, which is Echo India Sierra Hotel November with the Irish flag there. We have the rear door, and then of course we have the little logo that says A330-300 down there. And then as well, finishing off the aircraft, we have the clover on the tail. Despite being broken, this should be a fairly easy fix, and so I can't wait to add this into my collection. Of course, I do have all three of the older A330 liveries. So I have the new livery Aer Lingus A330-300, I have the old livery A330-200 in the really dark green livery, and then of course now we have this, the old livery A330-300. And finishing off today's unboxing, I'm going to be concluding this with some of the less fortunate models. We have 4 models in today's unboxing that I would kind of consider as not very fit for purpose. Of course, starting off on the left here, we have the Aer Lingus A330-300. That's not really going to be an issue, just with a little bit of glue, that one's going to be perfect. Then in the middle here, we have one of the United 737-900s. After recording the main section of today's unboxing, I went through all of the models just to give them a minor wiggle test, just to see if anything was loose. And one of the United 737-900s didn't have either of the wings firmly attached to the fuselage. However, I don't think this is a widespread issue, because this is the only one of my 737-900s that came like this. The other 2 are in perfect condition. Again, just like the Aer Lingus A330, I don't think this one's going to be a very big issue. Just with a bit of glue, this one is going to look as good as new once I've fixed it. But then on the right here, we have one of the 2 Gemini Jet 737 MAX 8s that I ordered, and both of these have the drastic engine issues where the engines are pointing upwards. And this really shows the difference between the Gemini issues here and then the NG issues here as well. Now the NG issues, while this is still bad and while NG shouldn't be delivering models broken like this, at the end of the day, these NG issues are going to be fixable. With a bit of glue, these 2 models are going to look great and in perfect condition. But the Gemini model here, I don't think there is a way for me to fix this. I've tried to bend the engines down a little bit, but that is just not working. They do not want to budge, and honestly I just think those models are just going to be stuck like that. But with that does conclude today's unboxing, so I want to thank you very much for watching today's video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.